Here's Beastars!
Beastars!
Season 2, episodes 1 through 8. Oh my god, we're watching a bunch of fucking episodes and talking about them. Here we are, folks. Hey,
on KHANTENT!
On KHANTENT, very true. You should support KHANTENT on subscribestar.com/KHANTENT. $10 will get you our monthly bonus episodes, of which there's like 6, 5, 8, some number of them. They're all great. Patlabor 2 is probably out by the time you see this. What a film. Go support it. Ad. Hey kids, want to impress your friends and induce sexual arousal in your neighbors? KHANTENT t-shirts!
Wow, I've never been more impressed in my life with anything!
KHANTENT now has official t-shirt merchandise, and you can get yourself some by clicking below the video or in the Teespring link in the description. With designs like the classic KHANTENT logo.
Or this!
I've got a shirt on too.
Or this. KHANTENT! In these trying times, why not tell the world you'd rather be watching Camp from inside your cozy can tent? They're a great way to support the show and share your KHANTENT pride. So get out there, wear them, and get into KHANTENT. KHANTENT!
俺は許されたくてここまで来た。肉食獣に生まれたこと。君に恋したこと。
Beastars. I like this show, and I'm glad it's back, because this was one of the first things we covered on KHANTENT.
That's right.
Towards the end of 2019. So now we're here more than a year later, and I have to say I was really surprised how easy it was for me to jump back into this show and immediately be like, oh, it's all my favorite people are here, and they're all doing fun stuff. Like,
I don't have too many favorite people in the show. There's like, you got Legosi, you got Louie, you got Haru, who I don't like and don't like seeing because she's creepy and weird. She's all right, but I still don't like her eyes. That's still the #1 issue for me is Haru's eyes.
The first note I have written down here, this is going to probably be pretty scattershot because it's 8 episodes and all kinds of shit happens all the time. I wrote the slow sinking realization that you have begun dating a slut is where Legosi seems to be at.
The problem is he's not even dating her. He is...
No, you're right,
He specifically says to himself, like, I'm fine with her being with other guys. I'm like, my boy, no, stop!
Yeah, I think they were like, at least it seems like at the end of the first season / very beginning of second season.
But she wanted to fuck. He said no.
They are like in the course of, we could be dating. He's got his reasons that he wants to like watch her from a distance and just kind of safeguard her, I guess.
Yeah.
He has definitely entered maximum cuck mode over this season. And in a way it's fascinating. It's like cuck as a superpower because
that's true. That's true. He has weaponized his cuckoldry.
His carnivore guilt is like his driving modus operandi at this point in the story, which is.
And there's noble goals, like you know, like you're saying. You get what he's saying. It is cool that he wants to improve himself and like be strong so he can protect Haru, who's like helplessness personified. And resist his own urges as well as be able to stop other people who, I mean, we saw last season, they tried to kidnap and eat her, those lion fucks, so we gotta make that happen.
I'm interested if this will lead to an exploration, because you said Haru's very, what was the word you just said?
Slut! No.
She could easily be eaten or whatever.
Helpless, I guess. Yeah. Helplessness personified.
So that's something that Juno also says about her after meeting her. Is like, oh, she's so like, she's adorable because she is so helpless. She's moe, if you will. And I think that's interesting because Haru's personality is not helpless at all. She's like,
she accepts death all throughout the day. She's like, I could die now, I'm just gonna do it anyway, which is kind of impressive.
It's interesting to me when they like describe her as weak, because being like physically weak is such a big deal in this world. Not to say that it's not in reality, that if she was like a small, frail girl, and
to different degrees in
people would be like, oh, we gotta protect her. But in this world, like there's literally, and in most of there's a whole lot of species out there who are just constantly thirsting to eat you at all times if they see you. maybe it's not that different from reality, but like a more the emotions are magnified considerably with the animal character.
And yeah, but again, I think is a good time to mention that like we were wondering like, oh, what specific metaphor were they trying to get to? Are they talking about like race? Are they talking about like the predators of like men on women or whatever? But the reality is you can infer lots of stuff. It's about its own internal universe of like a temptation of one part of society on another.
Literally what makes the show good.
Yeah,
is
I agree.
that it can be projected onto different situations.
Yeah, it's
and,
great.
It doesn't have to be exact because they're animals.
But I mean, I remember one great moment I remembered from that is like when Juno meets Haru for the first time. You know, Juno is kind of haughty, kind of stuck up. She obviously has many reasons to dislike Haru because Haru's got her mans, simping for her in a big way. But Juno's just like, we carnivores are inferior. Herbivores are better.
Her conclusion is that we're just worse, which is funny because I think she was on the other side before of like we're just better.
Something like that. But she sees the way Haru is able to like get by and like the strength it takes to face death every day, and the fact that that is attractive to Legosi, and her conclusion of all these factors, I guess, is they're better than us because.
I mean, I think the divide we're gonna get to here is like, well, the herbivores are putting up with living in a more difficult world.
Yeah.
The carnivores are putting up with not eating the herbivores every day.
Which,
so like,
to be totally fair, okay, this gets into some kind of weird territory here, but Juno proclaims in her own head, she doesn't talk about this publicly, in this world, in its specific way it works in here, she just says like, I am just pro-segregation. I am pro, which has many negative connotations in our real world. But in the world of Beastars where it's just animals who literally eat each other to live and they love doing it, it means a very different kind of thing. And that point makes a lot of sense in the world. Is it necessarily the right thing? Obviously, the goal is harmonious living between the two different factions. But can it be realistically achieved?
and I think that what the risk probably is, and it would be interesting if this ever came up in a backstory or something for the show, like, if these societies were segregated, I think inevitably they would develop the fear of each other that would make them go to war and fight each other.
Well, there's some great moments in here. Of course, I mean, Louis's change is obviously like Louis starts eating meat, among many other changes. Legosi swears off eating meat. So like people are defying their like biological instincts and switching roles and stuff.
I really like the way we've set up their rivalry now, because like throughout the first season, Louis is almost more of a mentor figure. He's because he's just, not even that he is so much better than Legosi, but that he is doing something with himself. And Legosi is just kind of wandering around, wondering what he's doing. Now that Legosi is actively doing stuff in the story, they both are on like this path of ultimate badassery, basically. And it's interesting, the different ways they're doing it, where Legosi is under someone's wing. He has a direct mentor. He's like practicing to do, something more vague. Whereas what Louis is doing, he has a bunch of people now under him, like as opposed to somebody training him from above. But the people under him are more experienced in the field.
He's being used
entering
by them as well. He definitely is a tool to them.
Yeah, but it's interesting the relationship he has where he sees himself as a tool, but his understanding of his usefulness as a tool is different. Where they're like, no, we have to care about you as a person to use you as a tool, so we're going to try to take care of you,
And
like,
there's that one lion guy.
Yeah.
It's funny that the ending is, like, the entire ending is dedicated to, like, the relationship between Legosi and this one lion bro. Like, all the lions don't really respect him, but there's the one guy with glasses, and this ending is like them almost romantically, like, hanging out together. It's such, like, a bromance of those two specifically. By the way, before I forget, the opening, absolute banger this season. It's fucking sick as shit. Visuals obviously can't compete with season 1's amazing stop-motion stuff, but, just saying, it's great. But the way Louis is being integrated into the group, he's fallen from the darkness, or from the light. Now he's in the darkness, and Legosi is being elevated into the light. What a role reversal for these two.
Well, and Louis' arc couldn't have gone in a cooler direction, possibly.
It's a little silly how well it worked out. I mean, he shows up at the lion place with a gun. By the way, if herbivores are so fucking scared of carnivores, buy a gun! Yeah. Rent a bullet and buy a gun, or whatever. And that's really the great equalizer, I guess. But I assume they're using Japan logic, where like guns just like don't exist in all of Japan. It is written by a Japanese person, so okay, I'm gonna assume that's the case. Because that gun really made a big difference for Legosi.
It did for Louis.
Louis, right.
But yeah, at the end of season 1, it was like Legosi and the panda stormed a place, took out everybody, saved Haru.
Right.
Then Louis just kind of showed up and killed their boss, just to basically prove to himself that he's a fucking hard ass.
Yep.
And they're all like, well, it was.
His plan was to die and be devoured immediately afterward. Just vengeance.
I don't know why it is that like lions in particular have been chosen as like the most differently presented race in the series.
Yeah.
But like lions are very particular about how they operate, and it's like I love that because Louis has all these assumptions about the way that things are going to go that are just like, well, no, that's not how it works with lions. It's like if you kill the boss, we don't just kill you. We're like lost. We like actually don't know what to do, and like
I've seen The Lion King. You know, it worked out for Scar. It works out for Legosi too, I guess.
Louis. You keep calling him
God,
Legosi.
the names are too similar. I keep fucking it up. I'm sorry, everyone.
But Louis getting offered by them to basically like be the baby face of the company, but like actually he is the hard ass. He is the most brutal person, and like it's not that he's like making all these crazy decisions. He is just kind of the face of what they happen to be doing anyways. But I really appreciate the relationship he develops with the rest of the Yakuza as like their boss who they simultaneously want to eat but have to respect, and him as somebody who's like in situations that should just be abjectly terrifying for him, but because he's going through them, he just keeps getting like more and more hardened by it.
Well, another great moment like that, like as Yakuza, they just come into like, they come in at one point, I think in episode 7 or 8 later on, to like help some people, but in continuing the like role reversal thing, there's like a crocodile man there who's being held by like the shopkeeper. He's gonna sell a piece of himself to like this old like goat shopkeeper or something, because he just needs to get by. And the goat guy is like, you know what I want? I want to fuck my wife. I want to fuck my wife for the first time in years. So cut off this guy's cock and balls. I'm going to eat them. So we've got an herbivore eating a carnivore now so that he... Actually, this is apparently like traditional Chinese medicine. The idea of like eating the cock and balls. Maybe just like Asian generally. I was informed that this is a thing they do. Okay, that's another cool role reversal, and the fact that Legosi, like the lion tries to put his hand in front of the guy's eyes. He's like, no, I gotta see it.
Don't look at it. Don't look at it.
See
Louis,
this happen.
not Legosi.
God damn it, I fucking hate myself. Louis, yeah, that's right. Oh, by the way, he also almost shoots his dad, which is pretty cool.
Yes, that was based. And his dad's just like, okay.
His dad calls his bluff. He's like, you are not gonna shoot me, you little bitch. You're acting cool. You don't have the balls to shoot me. And he's like, yeah, you're right. I don't have the balls to shoot you, Dad. Maybe one day I will. But this made me like his dad quite a bit.
Dad seemed vaguely proud of him for pointing a gun at him. So.
I mean, so just to remind everybody, the dad adopted Louis from a like puppy mill, effectively, an animal farm, where people were slaughtered and treated like monsters and treated like cattle and stuff. And he adopted him because he needed like an heir or whatever. So while I don't know if this is exactly what's best for the future of deer industries or whatever, it at least is showing some spine and initiative that he's now head of the Lion Yakuza.
Which incidentally, we don't really know how all of that will ever be relevant to the main plot. It really has just been kind of a B plot of like Louis becoming the hardest gangster in
the biggest narrative
underground.
The biggest narrative consequence is that Louis left the drama club and then went on to kill like 1 million people, because he had to.
There's a definite sense of reset or of transition in this arc away from... I think that possibly when, I think Paru Itagaki, I think that when she started this manga, it's possible that like the thought process was that it was going to be more focused on that mystery of like who ate fucking Tem.
Right.
And, unraveling that as more of like the central plot and then having these characters develop alongside that. Once we got to where like Haru got kidnapped and everything with that situation, it feels like we've entered a different show. Like the show has actually started. Now the characters are actually getting ready for the plot that will be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like, I remember, I think Tom was telling us when we talked to him about this a while back, that things transition into a different kind of thing. I mean, for example, you really feel like Legosi has entered like a shonen battle training situation to prepare for like the DBZ battles to come a little bit,
I think a big part of it might just be that maybe we're emotionally just past high school. because these characters they're growing up. Like they're moving into the world. They're doing stuff we see them more and more in the city, less and less at the school. The characters at the school become less relevant as this goes on, and more importantly, the fucking thing is resolved. The mystery of who did it.
Quick question. Do you remember seeing, I was racking my brain, I didn't check. Do you remember seeing a big bear in the background of the club? Because I remember only thinking the only candidate in season 1 was, not Pete, but like the big tiger guy, whatever his name was. Bill, right? I remember thinking, there's no even other potential candidates, and yet as soon as season 2 started, I'm like, I don't remember seeing this bear guy in the background. I kind of feel like he was inserted.
I honestly didn't even notice
Maybe
that
I'm
character until the episode where they're revealing it's him, and I'm like, oh, right.
Riz
bear?
did it. The bear, who, okay, I could be totally wrong about that. I'm just saying, I have an instinct that I don't remember seeing this guy, because I was actively thinking who it could be, and thinking the only candidate seemed like it was Bill, but in fact, this bear guy, we just find out. I mean, Legosi meets this guy, Six Eye or Hexai or Rokume, the one security guard at the school.
Is that a guy? The big snake?
I don't know what it was.
Very flirtatious with
yeah.
Legosi.
A big snake. I can't tell what it is. By the way, for the record, that snake is fucking huge. He's gigantic.
Unbelievably massive fucking snake.
I'm getting confused as to the rules of the game right now. Because, like, is that snake like a giant anaconda, which is why it's so big?
I assumed it was like, the anaconda from the movie Anaconda.
But okay, maybe. It's just that snake is so much bigger than everyone else, and also isn't even kind of humanoid. What are the rules exactly here with these maybe snakes because they don't have limbs?
Yeah, I think it's gonna
that?
be like a scaly thing,
Okay.
like there's furries, there's scalies, there's aviaries or whatever. They're all a little different,
You know what? That's fine. I don't care that much. I just thought it was notable, and because like mice are like this big. But
she tells
whatever.
Legosi, make use of that pure heart and devilish body to go solve this crime.
What the fuck, dude? I'm just trying to solve some murders, bro. I'm not trying to fuck. So there's another plot element here that gets introduced that kind of spurs us along to this, which is like there's a meeting of like the PTA or whatever, like the people in charge of the school, the city council, all the heads, all the principals meet, and they're like, let's declare whoever catches Tem's murderer will be a Beastar. That doesn't even appear to be Legosi's specific motivation, but it is at that point that Legosi is like, I will now investigate Tem's murder because I've cleared up other things in my schedule, I guess. So it's at that point he meets Rokume and is like, gives him a little bit of information as to, you should investigate, you should go look at things. Rokume's gotta like know who did it and just doesn't want to. Rokume specifically says, I'm not gonna tell you my hunches because that could like prejudice you. I'm gonna hold that back, even though I feel like there's some serious suspicion as to who it actually is here. Okay, whatever, fine. It's so that Legosi can investigate.
It definitely felt to me like this character appears in the story to be like, let's resolve this thing now.
Yeah.
Like we've gone on long enough. It's not going to be relevant anymore. We're moving on to a new part of the story. I'm here to get this over with and be important probably later. But yeah, it really is just like a giant snake shows up and says, let's solve the murder, and then they do.
No one has ever seen the snake. Like, they think this is like a plot. They think it's a ghost. It's actually the security guard with these 6 eyes. Whoa! And it moves along the ceiling somehow and has never been seen by anyone despite being the biggest snake in the world.
Yeah.
Okay, he's really sneaky, or she, I don't know what it is. That's fine, that's cool. Point is, Legosi gets attacked as he's doing an investigation and gets just fucking beat the shit out of him by what he feels is like a big, I think, mammalian or some kind of carnivore thing, and gets the piss beat out of him. And I just want to say, he gets like clocked from behind, gets knocked out, and manages to, he like regains consciousness and fights back. That killer had so much opportunity to kill Legosi if he wanted to, and then didn't, and then Legosi like fights back and gets away.
Legosi bites him in the mouth specifically so that he can like taste his saliva or get his scent or whatever.
Yeah, animal logic, I guess. I'm prepared to stipulate that this makes sense. That's fine. But I'm just saying, why didn't, I mean, we know it's Riz now. Why didn't Riz just kill Legosi when he had the chance? If he's gonna fucking sucker punch him.
I think he didn't want to kill him, just wanted to get him to stop investigating.
Okay, that makes sense.
This man is not intentionally a killer at all.
Right,
as
see,
we learn.
that's the next interesting thing. That we then, once Riz confesses, we then learn the full backstory that Riz and Tem were actually friends, and Riz was making a sincere effort to not hurt this man. So Riz is a bear, right? He's really big and strong.
He bit his mouth to see if it tasted of meat, so that he would know it was the killer.
Okay.
Because that person would have eaten meat.
And by the way, I appreciate that pays off, because he goes around tasting water bottles that have been used by people to like get the taste of the saliva, and this is how he figures out for sure that it's Riz. So, okay, a plot point used. Chekhov's gun fired. Excellent.
In regards to this murder, it was that so we've got a kind of a whole episode about this bear and what was going through his head. He was friends with Tem, was trying to get close with him, and was taking
reverse steroids, basically.
Yes, so the bears are forced to take muscle relaxers, basically because it's like if they don't, then they will just be like so intense they can't hold back from eating things.
They're bears. They're fucking yoked to shit.
And I think this is a great point, and this show, it constantly puts the characters in circumstances of like, they have to overexert themselves to not eat people. It's not just a matter of like, holding back from doing something you want to do. It's like you actively are worsening your body, taking like pills that make you weaker so you won't eat mammals, So like it really gives an impression of just how hard it can be for like the biggest carnivores, for like this bear who, stops taking the muscle suppressants because he feels like he wants to act more like his real self.
It's so sympathetic. You feel for him so much that he's becoming friends with Tem. He's like, oh dude, we're such good friends now. I feel like I can be my real self and I don't have to like neuter myself with drugs.
I don't know if you've ever met somebody who stops taking their meds because they think they'll be better friends with you that way, but
I hear it doesn't work out most of the time. But I mean, of course, I gotta say, like, when I heard that the bears, all bears, are mandated to take drugs to go to this school, my immediate thought was, if I was a bear, I would not go to this school. Fuck you. I'm not taking drugs to fuck with my brain so I can go to this particular school. Which, does that suck? Yeah. But, like, that's fucked up. That is fucked up. It's not like he's got, like, a mental illness. He's just too strong. It's just how he's built. If that's what it requires for these citizens to get along, for these communities to get along, and frankly, there are still incidents like this, I mean, it just really makes you wonder, is this even a viable plan long term? Of course, we all want it to work out, but I mean, they're the ones setting up the society, showing how fucked up it is that these two societies interact, or these two groups of individuals interact, and like they kill each other because they need to. It's not even like they just disagree on anything. They just want to eat them. It's fucked up to its core.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it interesting.
And Legosi has to torture himself in order to teach himself to not eat meat, because he is the ultimate vegan. He's described as...
His vegan gains made anime so powerful off the fucking
Someone
vegan shit.
calls him at one point like a true pervert because of his like just sheer amount of carnivore guilt he has, the amount that he puts the non-eating on a pedestal, I guess, non-meat eating.
I suppose that's true. But I mean, the scene of him, like once he's doing his training stuff with Goheen, Panda Bro, who's another Chad. I think that guy's vegan. He seems like he's
the one training
he's
him
sworn
to be
off.
that way.
Do pandas eat meat in real life, or do they just eat bamboo?
I don't know.
I can't remember if they're like actually herbivores or not. Point being, Legosi does his meditation sitting in front of a giant piece of meat and just like vowing to not eat it. And I gotta say, I really liked that scene. He does this like every night, and one of the nights Goheen comes to check on him, he's actually touching the meat. And Legosi has this really nice speech that, like, I was thinking this as soon as I saw that meat. You know, all meat comes from like sentient, human-like people in this world. That's kind of fucked up that you're even having that. But Legosi is touching it. He's like, I bet this was a person. I bet they had hopes and dreams. I think he said he even like looked into who this person was. That's now me.
Yeah, he did. That's right.
I was like, that's impressive. That's meaningful.
Because he actually finds out several of them, because he like looks into it and he's like, yeah, all the meat that's collected here is from people who, it seemed like each of them was somebody who was like a loner who like lived around the slums, who would get picked off, so to speak. which is interesting.
Or maybe sell themselves if they got desperate enough for whatever reason.
There's a Legosi quote where he says, "The reason I'm strong isn't because I want to be happy." And I think that's a very good encapsulation of where his character's at here, is like he's literally flogging himself to be a superhero, essentially. He's in a state of like almost religious, like remuneration. Is that what they call that?
I don't even know what that means, but I'll assume it's right.
I wrote black market hunger bait stripping scene staged like Perfect Blue. Have you seen Perfect Blue?
Been meaning to watch it, haven't yet.
There's a part where she has to act out a rape scene.
Oh, I've seen that part, yeah.
Yeah, and so of course you've seen that part.
Hell yeah.
But there's a scene in this where we see that there's a form of strip club in this world where herbivores in a cage strip for carnivores who want to eat and fuck
It's
them.
very unusual, but there's like a handful, or at least this one person who's like willing to be the target of both lust and like desire to literally eat them.
There's, I guess this season really makes it more clear that like the eating and sexuality are more like it's usually that's what the metaphor is in the show, is the eating is for sexuality purposes, and this part it's really intensified. We're like, yeah, if they take down the cage, the dancers are actually at serious risk of just getting like mauled by the crowd and eaten. And it has happened before. So they try not to do that, but you know, it's a dangerous place where dangerous people play by dangerous rules.
Indeed, indeed. And Louis comes in. Yeah, hey, you know, the thing is, the Yakuza, pretty fucked up. They do human trafficking in real life. They do all kinds of bad things. But they also serve a certain purpose in regulating the underground and the black market. And so Louis, not Legosi, Louis, head of the Shishigumi Yakuza people, when things get out of sorts in the black market, which is already like an illegal thing the cops can't be a part of or whatever, he's the one who comes in and is like, no, you can't be eating our fucking people. Get the fuck out of here. You're going to Yakuza jail or whatever.
I like that the stripper he saves is like, she's at first very taken aback by him because she's him as green. She's like, you're some kid who's here, you don't understand what it's actually like.
Because he's
here.
another herbivore, so
right. But as they communicate more, she kind of almost is mentoring him in a small way into this world of being like, well, look, here's how it is for herbivores. Like, I've been here for like a decade. It only ever gets scarier. It's crazy all the time. You're just gonna have to get used to it. And then like after that, it's just scene after scene of like he's in a deer meat shop at one point and just like. Again, just mind bleaching.
It's a little bit like Django Unchained, and a little bit like Sin City.
I can see that.
I'm reminded of Sin City really specifically with I forget the name of the guy, but the big guy played by I think Mickey Rourke, the big thick guy who protects Goldie, the goddess, and all that shit going on. So I really like their relationship, him and the stripper lady. I hope she comes back because they were cute together.
There's a part where. I think it might be Louis who says this, but somebody says instinct and strength are more powerful than symbols. Strikes me as something that somebody who doesn't know how to use symbols well enough would say. So, you know.
Like this symbol. Look at this fucking symbol right here.
Yeah, we'll see if that gets contested later.
Here's a scene I enjoyed very much. In, I think, episode 8, there's, in continuing the events that are happening about finding out that Riz is a murderer. This is from the newest episode. You've got a scene of like this cheetah girl and her lamb friend who, like, we're just experiencing like all these pressures that pervade the whole show. Like the cheetah wants to be friends with the sheep, and the sheep, of course, naturally could have a little bit of fear for this cheetah girl. But at the same time, like the cheetah, like doesn't want to be kind of like she doesn't want the sheep to want to hang out with her just because she feels she has to, or it'd be like politically incorrect, even though she's risking her life in theory with these people if this girl just gives into her urges because she's bigger and stronger and all this stuff. So like watching the way that this idea pervades like every aspect of the society is really cool and keeps the show feeling really thematically rich at like all times, and I've really enjoyed it.
Also, I like how that cheetah girl talks about how she can't wear patterns because she already has a pattern for her skin.
That was cute.
I think she also might need to acknowledge that she's orange, which is problematic as well.
That's fair.
Even with what she was wearing, her colors were a little weird with the orange.
She was wearing, I think, like red, but then like a blue shirt, which might not match too well. Yeah,
something like that.
She's got to work on it.
So to talk about like a general strength of this show, I wrote down, developing crowded, nuanced emotional situations is much more eminently watchable than plot minutia. And this was because I watched this right after Promised Neverland, where the Promised Neverland has lots and lots of describing why things are happening or like what's going to happen. And this show is much more honestly, not that much happens, and I could see that being boring for some viewers if you are kind of like, well, what's the point, or where is this building to?
I still got less so this season, but like remember in season 1 I talked about like this feels so much just like a J drama a lot of the time for sure.
It definitely. I almost compare it to like a Disney Channel show or something where like it's about high school kids like. It's kind of a high school slice of life show. The fact that it has a plot that is evolving is like. Not incidental, but like the characters are growing and changing in a way. It's not a stasis slice of life show, but it is.
Yeah.
It's literally a slice of the lives of the characters. It's not. It's not just the parts that are relevant to a narrative. It's everything that's relevant to them emotionally, to the central theme of the story, I guess. So like. The fact that the show can just kind of go and explore all these different characters and really take its time and do things like a scene where you just got a couple of characters who aren't even in the main cast doing a side thing that is relevant to the themes but makes the world feel richer, or there's so
like
much
that
of
egg
that.
episode with the chicken that I loved in season 1.
Right, exactly. So like all of that, I've just never seen a show quite do it so deftly, of constantly feeling like we are making progress, we are seeing the characters change, but it's still at that natural pace where we can bounce between everything and it never feels like, oh well, why aren't we seeing this right now, or like why isn't this going on?
The big
I'm just
thing with
interested
that,
in what's happening.
the only thing that was like that was at the beginning of season 1. I was very much like, where's Louis? What's Louis doing? I want to know what Louis up to. But they get to that by like episode 3 and we're off to the races.
I wrote, could it be you're dealing with mental illness? I think someone asks this to someone else, but I don't
remember that one offhand. The only other thing I wanted to mention about this series of episodes was about like Legosi after training finally has his first like anime-esque fight. Some ado is made about how he, since he isn't eating meat, although to my knowledge I don't think Legosi like has eaten meat in the past. I think he specifically avoids it. So like what has actually changed for Legosi in order to, because they talk about how his jaw strength has decreased, how it has weakened, but he's not eating meat. He never ate meat. So why would that change? You know what I'm saying? I don't understand why that would change. Maybe because he's tempting himself with the meat, and then it must be his training. His training is doing something to his brain. Okay, whatever, that's fine. But now he's learning, whoa, the strength of my limbs. I will use my epically long, big wolf limbs to punch and slice people with claws and stuff. So, and he does that with this like, the metaphor is clearly like a drug addict, a guy who's addicted to meat, who's like, splayed out, freaking out. He's like a hyena on the side of the road somewhere, and him and Goheen go to track down like these crazies. It's Goheen's job to lock him up until they to wean him up, basically to take drug addicts and help them recover so they're not so fucked up. And so Legosi gets its first like superhero vigilante fight, taking that guy out, and pretty easily manages to do so. But I wonder if this will be the plot that Legosi does going forward, of like helping meat-addicted people like recover in a facility or something.
I almost forgot that there's a new character who kind of fulfills the role of Louis in the drama club, being like a naturally charismatic and kind of stuck-up.
Oh yeah, that guy.
But he's different in that he's more he's not a hard ass. He's more of a flirt, I guess.
Yeah. He's like, you want to eat me, don't you, big boy? Why don't you take a bite out of my fat ass?
I remembered him because I had written down homoerotic hunger baiting, and I couldn't remember what that was in regards to until I remembered that character.
You're dead on.
But yeah, he's fun.
I assume things will be done with him. So far, he's been very... Actually, he found out that Riz is the killer. And he was like, I don't care. He didn't eat me, so I guess I won't worry about it. I'm like, why the fuck don't you care about this? Aren't you scared to be around a murder man?
He's like the world's most flippant about the difference between carnivores and herbivores.
He's a bit of a mystery to me, but I guess he's just a chiller.
I want to know more. I wrote, don't kiss me with them stripper lips.
Well, she's not a whore necessarily. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Some strippers do extracurricular activities once they're off the stage, but we don't know that.
That's what it was. It was Louis getting kissed by that girl. That inspired me to write that down.
Some whores have a heart of gold,
but
though,
yeah, so Legosi, there's a whole part where Haru kind of comes to confront Legosi about the fact that he's basically just been ignoring her for a while, and she's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I wrote, Legosi's high-minded ideas can't keep a girl warm. He's trying to do too much. He's trying to be this girl's boyfriend, but she's like, I just want you to fucking hang out with me, not go save the world or whatever.
You know, that right there is a great, that's a great just general lesson about relationships. Like, Legosi's being like kind of a superhero, that's cool. But like, if what he's trying to do is like to get the girl,
Right.
then he's completely doing it the worst possible way.
Yeah.
And if you want to get a girl, you've got to, you know, like involve yourself a little bit in her life in a positive way and not like weirdly stalk and become a superhero. Like at least Batman's parents were dead. He had to become a psycho obsessed with like fixing justice because there was no other alternative. Right. But Legosi, like the girl's right there. But to be fair though, like, he knows that she wants him and, like, they could be together. He's, like, choosing on purpose to not do that. I think he doesn't trust himself. I mean, let's not forget.
I wrote, Legosi unloads the full brunt of his autism. I don't remember exactly what he says.
He does that quite a bit, frequently.
He sort of introduces her to the concept of non-instant gratification, I think. Because Haru is somebody whose whole mentality has always been like, oh, you want to fuck? All right. Like, the first time they met, she just takes her clothes off, and like, before they've even had a conversation.
The first time they met, he almost ate her. That was really the first time they met.
That's true. But yeah, so, like, when he basically posits to her the idea of, like, I'll get back to you later, she's kind of, like, upset but fascinated, I think, in a way of, like, I've never thought of this idea.
Well, you know, I actually have heard some women, because, you know, she represents that feminine frailty and whatnot, being like, oh, fuck Haru, she's like too much of a slut. And obviously in real life, there are reasons to not be a huge slut. Like, there are negative consequences that can come with it socially and in other ways. But like, you know,
she is facing in the show.
As she personally, we see them with this character. But like, in a way, it's her cope in this fucked up world to like make people not fuck her over. I don't know.
To me, it's very evident that the point is she doesn't know how to not be a slut. Like, this is the only form of communication she has figured out, and everything else is impossible, and she's just in confrontations with people. Like, she's two kinds of relationships. I'm fucking you, or you don't like me, basically. So
That's
like,
true. That's true.
I see it as...
Legosi can like me and not fuck me? What?
Right, that's why she's so mind blown about it.
I guess so. I guess that's fair.
And the last note I have is there's only a few shows that really pull off having a protagonist who is so unself-aware of how they're perceived. And that's what I find most interesting about Legosi is that his perception of himself, he's so like neurotic and locked in his mind that he's just thinking about himself. But all of the other characters have very distinct perceptions of him that like we will learn. People will say like, oh, I think you're like this, or you always gave me this impression. And it's nothing like what he's like on the inside. Like, there might be shades of it, but just the ways that other people see him is so different from how he sees himself, or that like, in the show, people think he's incomprehensible. They're just like, what are you doing? Like, why are you like this? Like, I thought you were like this, but then I saw you do this, and now I'm confused. And like, it's hard to nail that with not a lot of shows try. This show did and succeeded.
I think a lot of general anime watchers will like that and relate to Legosi, because I think a lot of people who watch this, I mean, I count myself among them, are pretty like neurotic about stuff, tend to overthink things. I don't know, we spend a lot of time watching anime and thinking about themes and perceiving things and trying to pull little nuggets out of it. And Legosi is also another quiet kind of study. So yeah, there's some crossover in the audience and the people who would like Legosi, I assume. But I mean, in short, it's been pretty good so far. I think I like it more than Season 1, and I already liked Season 1. Oh, you know, the only other point I wanted to make was about the animation. So, of course, it's Studio Orange, still doing the whole 3D thing. I noticed there was one moment where we see a bunch of like photos on a phone that someone's scrolling through. And of course, those are still images. So for those were all drawn in 2D. And then we cut back to like the 3D characters. Now, the point I want to make is that transition of like looking at 2D drawings of characters to the 3D models was not a problem, and I liked it, because it was like a still image and then to like the 3D guys who obviously move a little bit differently. But there were some scenes in the show where just for whatever reason, we're in like the newspaper club meeting or something. It's just, in that shot, it was the only time in the entire season so far, like just all the characters were inexplicably drawn in 2D.
I would assume it's just characters who don't have a model that exists already. And
You're
like,
probably right.
Don't need one made.
They're probably small characters that don't do a ton. I just want to say that the whiplash I got looking at those like moving 2D characters was noticeable. And while I guess I understand why they didn't want to make full models for him for someone that probably isn't that popular, it's just one slight negative consequence. You commit to an art style with 3D. It can work in sometimes, like the still images they're scrolling through on their phone or whatever. But when you have the movie, it's just a little.
There was a
bit
lot more of the 2D integration back in the first season, I think.
and they're more like abstract art styles in various times, which I liked.
That's true. I do feel like we're missing some of the abstraction this season, now that you mention it. The first season had more experimental visuals.
Yeah, across the board, yeah.
I still really like it. I've been greatly enjoying this show. Visual-wise, the only thing I want to comment on is how much I like the Yakuza lions and how they all kind of stand with like an off, like they're never kind of looking at you straight, you know? They're all just kind of like, Yakuza guys.
I like all their little personalities. You got some who don't take the job that seriously. You got glasses guys backing up Louis. Yeah, I like all those guys. I want to see more of them.
That's it.
That's it for
More
Beastars.
Beastars, more content. Subscribe, ring the bell, hit the all notifications button. Watch videos that aren't about Attack on Titan, and send us content clips to play at the end.
And go to subscribers.com/cantent for all our bonus episodes, of course.
Yeah, such
But
as the
again,
Patlabor 2 one we just released. And you can send the content clips on Twitter or Discord, such as this one.